G'day everyone. What I wanted to do today is explain a project that I call my Where's Wally. What you're going to be doing is creating a piece that's about yourself and hiding approximately 10 things into it that you're interested in, that you enjoy doing, and your goal is to make your piece a very busy piece. Before we get started, one of the things that I would like you to do is use just your coloured pencils, and I'd like you to have a go at creating some textures. Now, when you create textures, texture is an element of art, and it's really about the way things feel. So I don't want you to draw a tree. I want you to zoom in and look at the detail of the tree. I don't want you to draw a dog. I want you to zoom in and draw the hair of a dog. Now, how I'd like you to present that is if you have an A3 piece of paper, you can see here there are 10 boxes, and you can just draw your texture element in your box and you can label that as well. Now, when you're doing coloured pencils and pencils, there's lots of different mark making techniques. So a mark making technique that you're welcome to have a go at doing is what's called cross hatching. And cross hatching is when you're making lines, and very technical, you just cross them over and make it look really exciting. Another one that you can do is hatching. And if cross hatching is going two ways, hatching is just going one way. Okay, the next thing I'd like you to do after you've done your 10 textures is think about what you would like to actually do for your Where's Wally. I'd like you to do a little bit of brainstorming and come up with two themes. So two themes is two ideas, one on one half the paper and one on the other half the paper, and you're still working on A3 paper. Now, if you're coming up with an idea, these aren't to be perfect little drawings. They really are for you to have a play and work out your composition and whether your work is balanced and whether it's going to be busy enough. So this is just using a lead pencil. So I would suggest you write down your 10 things, and have a play at doing both of those. One of the things this work is missing is I would like you to put a little splash of colour. You know, when I say that, it's not a colouring in competition. It really is putting a little splash of colour, a little bit of a scribble here and a little bit of a scribble there, so you know what colours that you're possibly going to use. And you can also have a go at practicing some of the textures that you might have already done, or come up with your new textures for your piece. Okay, so you've got your 10 textures and you've got your 2 designs. Which design are you going to choose? Well, which one do you like the most? Have you covered all the elements? Is it busy? Have you hidden your 10 things? Is your piece about you? You can always chop and change your things as you're going. Once you've done your drawing, you can grab your A3 piece of paper and you can use just a black fine liner. And if you don't have a black fine liner, just use a pen, and then you can draw your piece on here with a pencil first and then go over it with a fine liner. Still, again, trying to make it busy. Now, this piece of work here is by Dutch artist Peter BRUEGEL. He was very much about paintings that were showing the peasant way of life, and he also painted religious pieces as well. So here in this particular piece, you've got a village. It's very busy, which is very much like what your Where's Wally is going to be. And he did things like looking at festivals and dances, hunts and meals, and what was generally happening in that sort of lifestyle. Now, you can see that there is evidence in his work about what was the physical and the social aspects of what was happening in the 16th century. So if you're doing a piece and your piece is about you, your work can actually show what is actually happening now and around you. Okay, so here are 2 students' example of work looking at their Where's Wally. They've gone through that process, they've drawn it in their fine line, and now they've used just plain coloured pencils to put their work together. What they've also done in their presentation is they've actually drawn again their 10 items which they've hidden, and they have listed those. So when you get the piece of work, we all know what it is that we're going to have to find. This one is the same. They've got their drawing, it's on A3 paper, and then they've got their 10 items around. So these are 2 student examples, and I want to show you a little bit more about some examples as well. Now, you don't actually have to work on white paper. So if you have your A3 piece of paper, whether it be white or a coloured piece of paper, you can see that you can create a really interesting effect by putting your coloured pencil on coloured paper. This looks really nice. Okay. So this piece here doesn't have the 10 things around it, but it's really quite busy, and it's also on coloured paper. So now I'm thinking it's time for you to make a start. So let's recap on the things that you need to do. You want to think about having your 10 textures. You need to be thinking about having your 2 designs with your list of 10 items. Now remember, the piece is about you. So your hobbies, your interests, what you like doing. Then you're going to choose one of these and you're going to draw it up on a piece of A3 paper, in pencil. Use your fine liner to go over it. Colour it in. And then you're going to put your 10 things around so that once we get together, or I put your work out there, you can see, people can have a look at what it is that you're trying to find. Now, if you're sitting there going, I'm not a very good drawer, that's fine. Use your technology, use your phones, use your devices, use magazines, use photos that you may have, and then you can put your work together using that way as well.